Kelly. I'm going to make a quick video on trekking poles and how to run with them. A lot of people I know, they'll buy a set of trekking poles, they'll go out and run with them one or two times, they're kind of awkward, they don't want to do it anymore, they just put them back in the shelf and never use them again, and completely ignore all the good that can come from them. So I wanted to make a quick video. There's a lot of videos out there involving trekking poles for hiking, but not so many for running, so this one's more specific to running than for hiking. First thing is, I just kind of want to go over the pole itself. The ones I'm using here are Black Diamond Z poles. Actually, these are not the only poles you can use for running. You can pretty much use any trekking poles for running. I like these because they are collapsible. You store pretty easily. You can put them in the back of your pack, pull them out, and then they will set up pretty quickly. And just like everything else in this video, everything I'm saying is kind of a guideline. It's not, don't take it for gospel. There's no specific formula. There's no anything that's, this is the only right way to do it. Everything is kind of trial and error, but this is kind of where I found, and what I found to be the best methods and the best thing for me. So kind of take that with a grain of salt and just kind of find your own methods on all of this. But anyway, so with that said, alright, so trekking poles. As far as how to use them, a lot of people will get them, they'll see this handle, and they will hold it like that. This little strap here, they'll completely ignore the strap. I mean, what's the purpose of the strap? They don't care. They're just going to hold them and they're going to go. And that kind of defeats a lot of the benefit of the trekking pole. This strap is actually very important. This is the primary method of attaching this thing to your hand. And it's a very specific way to put it on, too. At least on the Black Diamond ones, each one is specific. So this is the right hand one here, this is the left hand one, just the way that it's set up here. But you want to come in from the bottom of the strap. Come in from the bottom towards the top, and then kind of rest your hand over on top of it. So your hand's coming through the bottom, and can you see that? Like, we're seeing the meat of my hand there? So now my hand's actually locked onto it. I can literally take this pole and use it effectively with 2 fingers. I don't need these other 3 fingers at all, and I can use it just as effectively as if I had my whole hand on it. Because all that stress is on my wrist. It's in that strap, it's on my wrist, it's in these 2 fingers here. I can use it out in front of me. I have all of that still secured there. If I want it back behind me and I'm pushing off with it, I don't have to have my hand on it like that. So it really saves a lot of arm fatigue and hand fatigue by not having to grip it all the time. I can literally just use that strap and it's good. In fact, most of the time whenever I'm running with it, and I'm running with it out front, these fingers are almost behind it. So I have it out like that, and I'm barely holding on to that handle at all. So, yeah, so use the strap. The strap is there to help, and it really does make a difference. So there's 2 different ways of using trekking poles. There is using them for stability, and there's using them for propulsion. Most people use them for propulsion. Anytime you hear anyone talking about trekking poles in the mountains, typically what they're talking about is they want them for the steep ascents, they want them for climbing, they want them to help out with that. And they do a good job of that. That's not primarily the way that I use them, but a lot of people, that's their primary use for trekking poles. And with that, basically you're planting it and you're pulling your body forward with it. You can use it on flat ground, you can use it on uphills, either way. If you're using it on flat ground, it's typically going to be planted behind you, and as you run, you're pushing off with it, so it kind of helps push you forward. It transfers some of what your legs would be doing to your upper body, and just kind of helps even that out a little bit. So that's on flat ground, they'll kind of be behind you. Uphills, it may be a little bit more out in front of you, but same concept. You're planting it and pulling your body up with it, taking a little bit of that stress off your legs. So it's plant and pull, plant and pull. There's really not a good formula for that. Depending on terrain, you may be planting both at the same time and pulling with both of them. You may be doing one and staggering them one at a time like that. There's really no cadence that you can really specify, because anytime you're going to be using these for going uphill, it's going to be so unpredictable you can't really set a cadence to it. Speaking of cadence, that's another thing with them, is it's best just to go ahead and get out of your head right from the start that you're going to maintain any specific kind of cadence when it comes to trekking poles. You cannot run with the same cadence you would on flat ground. You're going to invariably go slower with your arms than you are with your legs. The quicker you kind of accept that fact, the better off you are. Your hands and arms can move independently of your legs and go at different rates, and you'll be totally fine. The only time I can see that that can become an issue is on some of the steeper descents when they're not quite matching up with where your feet are, and there's the potential of a pole not being out in front of you at all times, in which case you could potentially go over. It's not a huge deal though. It's better to have that scenario than not have being out there, you know. Alright, so that's the propulsion method. So behind you pushing, basically it's pushing you off, but you're pulling with your arms. But it's technically pushing behind you. Stability method, which is the way I primarily use them, is you want these poles kind of out in front of you. You want them to stabilize you to, if I were to trip, if I were to hit something and trip, I have something out in front of me to keep me from falling flat on my face. For that, they primarily need to stay in front of my center of gravity, and I like to have them kind of out to the sides as well, because it helps stabilize side to side as well. If you need to, as you're running, avoid a rock. If you have it right here beside you, and you go to push, you're not really stabilized, because my center of gravity, if I were to go right here and I go this way, my center of gravity is already over that pole, and I can just go right over the top of it. Whereas if it's out here, if I go this way, then I have something on the outside of my center of gravity, and I can push back off and stabilize myself. So yeah, so I use these more for downhills and any kind of technical trails. So when I run, I typically have them out front. Like I was saying before, I kind of keep my fingers almost behind them, so they're probing the ground in front of me. If I do hit something, then I can plant and my arm can kind of catch me. Another good thing is you can actually use them to maneuver a little bit too. Let's say I'm going down a really steep switchback, and I need to round this corner really quick. So rather than come in, have to plant my foot and go like this, and all that stress is on my foot, I can plant this out here. So now some of it's on my upper body and some of it's on my foot, and I can kind of distribute that a little bit easier and really make that switchback a lot quicker without having to put all that stress on one joint. It really makes things like that a lot quicker to change direction. Speaking of changing direction, if you're going down this really big downhill and you jump over a log and you realize that where your foot's about to land, there's a giant pile of loose rocks, you can't land in that, or you're going to twist an ankle. If you have your pole out in front of you, you plant that pole, shift the weight, and now you moved over that 6 inches, 1 foot, whatever, and you just missed that entire pile of rocks, and you can keep on going all the way down the hill. You can really just kind of readjust where you are in midair. You can catapult over things if you're coming up to a log and you're running pretty quick and you don't want to just stop and like try to step over it. You can plant both of them, jump at the same time, gives you that extra couple inches, maybe even a foot, because you can really kind of raise your legs at that point and kind of come up and over it. And it gives you a little bit extra on the catapulting part as well. But a lot of it's just more the changing direction, giving you a little stability, and just making you a little more confident on some of these downhills. That said, I'm going to show you a couple instances in action, just to show you a little bit of what I'm talking about. But for the most part, that's it. Use them, have fun. Don't take any of this as gospel. Find what works for you, and go with it. All right, thanks.